What is the most exciting moment for a figure collector? Is it that thrilling feeling you get the second you click buy for the figure you've always wanted? Or your heart skipping a beat when the doorbell rings and the box is sitting right there waiting for you? Perhaps it's the delightful sensation of cutting open your package and pulling out your long-awaited prize. Or maybe it's when you finally get your figure together and placed on its shelf, and you stop to admire your new piece in your collection. Well, in this haul, I have 6 boxes of figures to get excited about, plus a bonus item that I've been curious about for a while. So grab a drink, sit back, and let's get started with this haul. Now the first figure in my haul is something else, and that figure is the Falslander Samurai by Wing. This figure is something I've been waiting for a long time, and after a year of delays, it's finally in my hands. Now before I go into details, I want to call out that this is an original character designed by the artist Neko, and it's from this artwork you see here. So, how good is this figure? Well, it's bloody amazing. Like, I'm impressed. The suit is so well detailed and shaded. The line work of the belts, the buckles, and the clips, it's all so very clean. And the red string and the rope have an amazing cord-like texture that you really have to look up close to even see it. Even the fabric of the undershirt sleeve shows grain texture. Speaking of texture, the outside cloth going down her leg is smooth, so I was going to complain that they missed an opportunity because they could have textured it like everything else. But when you look on the inside of it, it has diamond pattern stitching. It totally caught me off guard, but I was pleasantly surprised. I love the Japanese-like armor on the modern tech gear bodysuit, especially the sode or shoulder guards, or kote, or arm guards, which seems slightly influenced by fantasy. And another thing I really love is that you can replace her face to be maskless, which I like, because it's good to have options. The base is simple, but well done, which is what I'm expecting in a base. You don't have to go crazy to make something like this. It's a simple mold with a little bit of paint. Now, the only thing that I don't like about this figure is the blank expression of her eyes. It's a bit too wide-eyed and emotionless. Overall, the Falslander Samurai is a near perfect figure, and I'm so glad that I finally have it. She almost feels like she's from the same universe as the Tech Gear Shoshu, which was made by Wings Inc. and illustrated by Swave. Anyway, moving on to the next figure in this haul. You should have already guessed this one. It's like setting a bowl filled with candy on your desk. You're not gonna eat just one piece of candy. Just like you can't have one Falslander figure. So here's my second Falslander figure, the Falslander Landsreiter, also by Wing, and also illustrated by Neko. This is the illustration that I'm referring to. And if you say that the Falslander Samurai took on a Japanese theme, the Falslander Landsreiter takes on a European medieval theme. So how good is this figure? Well, it's amazing, just like the first figure. What makes it amazing? Well, it's the same level of detail as the first figure. Great shading, everything is finely detailed. I almost feel that the buckles look better on this figure than the first figure. And the line work. Just look how clean this gray paint is done over her glove lining. And it's like this throughout the figure. The armor is another lovely quality. From the chunky arm guards to the beautiful chainmail. Let me say that again, beautiful chainmail. It really surprised me how textured it is. And then the leg guards, so many layers of detail. The figure also comes with 2 faces, one with a helmet visor up, and the other one with a helmet visor down. And I'm glad that the figure looks over to the side, making it feel more alive. And like the last figure, I only have one issue with it, and that one issue is its base. It looks like they didn't finish painting it, like they got the base layer done, but forgot to paint the highlights. Well, let's fix that. Okay, I'm not sure if I completely ruined it, or I made some kind of improvement, but it is what it is. Overall, another amazing Falslander figure. I can't express enough how much I'm loving the modernization of historical outfits. I really love this figure. Anyway, can you guess the next figure? Well, this is unexpected, but not really, because delays always seem to happen. I was hoping to get the Falslander Hamet, which is the 3rd Falslander scale figure, but it didn't come in time for this video. So instead, I'm gonna open up these. I picked up 3 effects that you can place around your figures, because I like a bit of spice around my figures. And here I have the flame effect, wave effect, and wind effect. And looking at them up close, they're pretty cool, but for certain things. I do want to say that I like their design and the way that they look. I really think that these would shine for Nandroids, Figmas, and pop-up parades. But when it comes to using them for scale figures, it might work, but also may look cheap around them, mainly because the effects are a solid transparent color and lack shading or highlights that you would expect on a scale figure. Overall, I think they're pretty cool, but they may not be useful everywhere. Now with that out of the way, let's get back to opening figures. So I was talking to another figure collector, and I was telling them, I really need the 02 figure by Kotobukiya, but their aftermarket price is too high. They told me, don't do it, she'll get another re-release. And I'm like, no way, that's crazy. Well, I admit I was wrong. So here we have 02 from Darlin and the Franxx, and it's a figure that requires no assembly because it's all in a single piece. First I want to say, I think the figure is so clever, and it's such an iconic pose. There's also an alternative version of this figure, and that's with their 13th unit uniform, but I prefer this one. Now the outfit itself is spot on, though a bit glossy, but I'm guessing they're really trying to show off that latex texture. Kinda reminds me of the Asuka outfit, as well as Callan's. What's up with putting anime girls in hot red outfits? Anyway, I love the flowing hair, which is a bit more transparent around the ends. And the base is perfect because it's the cockpit of the seat of the Franxx. And since this figure is older, I'm not going too deep in reviewing it. 02 is top waifu material, and this figure is fitting of that title. So let's jump into our next figure of this haul. Now here's the question. What happens when you take an anime and a Souls-like game and you merge them together? Well, you get a game called Code Vein. And so here, I have Mia Kernstein from Good Smile Company. This figure was a figure from my first pre-order video, as a figure that I wanted, but missed the pre-order window. And then the figure got delayed by a year. So I'm glad to finally be able to pick her up on Good Smile's Black Friday sale. Now let's jump into it, because this figure is pretty awesome. And let me tell you, they got Mia perfect. The detail in the blood veil, or for those that haven't played the game, it's the jacket-ish, and the detail in the dress and stockings, to the fur cap, and even the bayonet rifle. And yes, since we can't overlook it, the stinger in the blood veil is amazing. And you're probably thinking, well, jackets don't have stingers. Well, in this case, they do. Overall, this figure's perfect. But while the base looks good from afar, when up close, the snow and ice of the base look pretty underwhelming. And some of the snow even looks like white fur in the way that the texture is done. I think that the base could probably be fixed with some texture adjustments and some updated painting, because it has the right idea. So to conclude, Mia is an amazing figure with one badass pose. It's definitely an eye catcher, and the base can be easily overlooked. But you know what figure has an amazing base that might steal the attention away from the figure itself? But before I introduce the next figure, if you had the ability to manipulate time, would you? And if you were put in a situation where you can only save either your love or your best friend, who would you save? If it was me, I'd be saving Mikise Kurisu, because this figure, which was done by Good Smile Company, could just be the figure of the year. So this is Mikise from Steins Gate, and where do I start? Like seriously, where do I start? This figure is insane. Okay, obviously, we're gonna start with the base, because it catches your eyes before Mikise. It's like, look at all those monitors. Oh, there's a girl in there too. The base is amazing. There's so much detail in the computer box and the keyboard, as well as the Nixie tube clock, to the wires, and even the microwave and cell phone. And speaking of realistic, does anyone remember the floppy disk? My only complaint about the base is it feels brittle, so be careful to never drop it. Now moving on to Mikise. Chef's kiss. From the detail in the hair, to the outfit, to the fingers woven through the hair bangs, to the zippers on the boots. I am really happy with this Mikise, and if you're a fan of Steins Gate, this is the figure you have to get. And if you haven't seen the series, watch the anime. It's a little slow at first, but it's a wild ride. Better yet, play the game. Unfortunately, I found that the manga was the weakest link of all medias, but it still gives you the general idea of what the series is about. But moving on to my very last figure, and I bet you thought it was going to be Mikise. Nope. No one holds a stronger place in my heart than the Sovereign of Dawn, the White Whistle who pioneered the 6th layer of the Abyss, and my favorite character in the series, Bondrewd. Bondrewd was the perfect villain, one that pursues an admirable goal and is willing to sacrifice everything and anyone for it. But not out of malice, rather for the greater good. So he's a joy to read about or watch. And for those that aren't familiar, this is Bondrewd from Made in Abyss, a series that I have a lot of praise for since it's one of my favorite world-building stories. As for the figure, it's as amazing as the manga and anime. Starting with the outfit, it's spot on. The multi-layer canopy onto Dawn Victorian coat, and the cursed needle gauntlets, and the simple armored boots, all of it looks great. The cartridge backpack, and the tail that's showing you that this is the second body also are well detailed and look great. But the part that really stands out is his helmet, in the dark. That's right, put in 2 LR41 batteries in his backpack, and his visor lights up. And this is a guilty pleasure of mine, isn't that right, Guts? The open arm pose is perfect, and it's so Bondrewd. I don't think you can get a better pose than this. As for the rock form base, which doesn't take up a lot of space, I think it's perfect as well. I wish more figures had smaller bases like this. And you notice it's a bit heavy, which probably reduces the chances of it being knocked over. This figure turned out much better than I expected, and I'm so glad that they got it right for such an outstanding character. Definitely my MVP of the haul, but feel free to tell me what your favorite figure was. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. I hope it was helpful, especially if you were leaning on the fence on picking up one of these figures, because I feel that every figure in this haul was amazing. But to wrap things up, I hope to see you all again soon and take care.